Hey, look, it's that Kudo guy. Long story short, just to get it out of the way, I didn't realize that moving out was going to be so much work, and there's been a lot of stuff that I've had to do. This isn't an update video, so I'll just leave it at I think I can comfortably make videos now that I have a job and I've gotten settled in, and I'm going to start with this to kind of shake off the rust. So at Anime Expo, they unveiled copies of the Attack on Titan trial deck for Weiss Schwarz. This is obviously very curiosity-piquing, and I took a look at it. While the deck is certainly very good, I don't think it's quite as revolutionary as people are giving it credit for. It's a very well done but basic trial deck that was blown a little bit out of proportion by its crazy fans. Perfectly mirroring the anime, might I add. So, let's just hop right into it. As always, if you're just here to net deck the deck list, then here it is, please enjoy. All I ask is that you leave me a like on your way out. For the rest of us, let's take a closer look. Starting with level zeros, we have 19 levels. Well, there are 19 level zeros. I'm pretty sure there's like four. We got a lot to cover in this review. Let's not get caught up on details and let's just start looking at stuff. Okay, so before we get too far into this, my image is going to look a little janky because I couldn't really find any Japanese scans anywhere, and I'm starting to think maybe this hasn't been released in Japan yet. Maybe this is special because it's like an American first release or something. I don't know. Couldn't find Japanese scans on my normal website, so I had to use a new website to get my images, and the image is going to look a little weird, a little different from my other videos. On the bright side, didn't have to translate or edit anything, so you take what you can get, I suppose. So, onto the cards themselves. We're going to get 4 of each vanilla level 0, which is, of course, as you should probably know, really dumb. But getting off that for a second, Sasha Browse as a level 0 vanilla? Excuse you? Sasha Browse should be your level 3, okay? At least a level 2 9000 vanilla. Sasha Browse is a throwaway level 0 3000 vanilla it's disrespectful. Like, there's no other way to put it, okay? That is some straight up ignorance of your characters. Armin's going to be our level 0 support, which is good. Keep the useless characters in the back, save the center slot for the real stars of the show. Pretty basic card. We at least get 4 of them, I guess. You give 500 to the characters in front of you, and you can also rest him to give 500 to one character with Eren or Mikasa in the name. Alright, decent enough. We're also getting another Armin in the form of Chain of Tragedies. It's a pretty basic card. You play it, you pay 2, and you can search your deck for one corpse character and put it in your hand. It's kind of funny saying corpse character because it looks like corpse, and most of the characters in Attack on Titan end up as corpses anyway. I don't know, stupid joke, let's move on. We're also going to get a Chain of Tragedies Mikasa because, of course. It's pretty good. If you have one or less other characters, it goes up to 4,000. We've seen cards like this before. They're really great cards to open up with. The deck doesn't give us too many of them because it has a suck quota, but, you know, you always have to buy 2 of these trial decks to make a decent deck anyway, so it's not really that surprising. Plus, we needed room for our 8 level 0 vanillas. Our last level 0 is 1 copy of Honor on the Battlefield Eren, and this is a really strange card. I do want to say it's a very good card, it just feels a little out of place. Its first effect is, if you run this into an open slot, then you can give one of your other characters plus 1500 power. Plus 1500 power is really good, that's going to be good the entire game. Your opponent's never always going to have 3 characters up, so if you have this card in your hand, you can drop it, give a character 1500 power, nothing to sneeze at. Pretty awesome. Its second effect is a little goofy, I guess you could say. If you run this into a level 0, or if a level 0 reverses this, then you can put that level 0 on top of your opponent's stock, and then take the card on the bottom of your opponent's stock and put it in the waiting room. Theoretically, there are reasons that that's good, but it doesn't come up often enough. First of all, this can get rid of level 0s with Encore, like Yuki Nagato in the Haruhi decks. But really, how often do you come across that? Do you really come across it often enough that you need a counter to it? I mean, this is your check if you do, but it just doesn't seem like a situation that warrants an entire counter card. Its other situation is if your opponent attacks and they end up triggering a climax, which sucks, then you can put a level 0 on top of that climax to make it a little harder to get to. I mean, okay, I understand why that would be good, but first of all, I don't think it's going to make such a huge impact that your opponent won't be able to play around it, and second of all, I don't know if a lot of players picking up a trial deck are going to have the knowledge and know-how to effectively use that. Plus, it's not like it's something you can do a whole lot, because they only give you one copy of it. Even if you buy 2 of this trial deck, you're only going to get 2. Level 1's a little more grounded. It's got a couple of really neat things in it, and I think this deck mainly thrives on its level 1 play. We get 4 copies of Honor on the Battlefield Mikasa, which is the 5500 vanilla. My feelings on these haven't changed. I still think they're garbage. Don't be blinded by your love of Mikasa. 5500 vanillas are garbage, even if they're of characters that you're in love with. We're going to start looking at real cards with activated powers Eren. I first want to throw up before I start bashing on this card that it has Encore and it has Super Encore, which is the discard a card from your hand Encore. And that makes it really good. Pretty much any card in a trial deck that has Super Encore is just naturally going to be a good card. However, this first effect is positively worthless, and the fact that it's a 4500 is garbage as well. Now, the first time you read its first effect, which is a Climax combo, by the way, when you play this card's Climax, you get plus 1500 power times the level of the character that you are facing. First, you might be thinking, oh, well, that really scales. That means this card can be better later in the game. No, absolutely not. This effect actually just means that this card is worthless at every single stage of the game. Like, let's really dig deep into this. If you're fighting a level 0 and you use this effect, then you're 4500. You're going to beat the level 0 no matter what. You're stronger than all the other level 0s, okay? Worthless. At level 1, it goes up to 6,000. 6,000 is arguably kind of okay, but there are 7,000 vanillas out there. And if you can't get over something as simple as a vanilla, then you're probably not going to get very far. At level 2, you're going to go up by 3,000 to 7,500, which means you're weaker than pretty much every single level 2 in the game. There's really nothing you can do with the 7,500 on level 2. Even the really bad 8,500 vanillas can beat you at that point. And then at level 3, you're going to get a whole whopping 4,500 power boost and go up to 9,000 power. There is not a single point where that power boost actually helps you that much. People's arguments are going to be, oh, but you get a power boost from playing the Climax. But so do good cards. Like, the Climax's effect isn't just exclusive to this card. You could just play the Climax and give its power boost to a good character and not even have to worry about this. We move on to Hope and Despair Armin. It's a 5,000 that during your turn goes up to, wait for it, 6,000. Yay! Man, I love these cards. They're so good. Oh, look, Kudo. It goes up to a 6,000. That steps over the 5,500 vanillas. Oh, well, it steps over the 5,500 vanillas. Well, let's just run 4 of them then, okay? If it steps over a 5,500 vanilla, I'm pretty set. I'm pretty sold that this is a good card. Meanwhile, that one Weiss Schwarz deck building god over there is just paying 1 stock to have a 7,000. And it's just a 7,000 all the time. Doesn't have to be your turn. It's just a 7,000. You see, Armin, this is what happens when you let the useless characters take the center slot, okay? They just end up being worthless cards that you have to throw away right after you buy the trial deck. Hope in the Darkness of Despair Mikasa is a really good assist card to come in a trial deck. She costs 1 and people are going to kind of shy away from that, but hear me out here, okay? She gives plus 500 power to the characters in front of her for every character you have with assist. So that also includes the Armin from level 0. If you happen to get one of these in play with one of those Armins and you're giving the 2 characters in front of her plus 1,000 power, on top of that, you also get the ability where you can rest yourself and give plus 1,000 power to any one of your characters. It doesn't have to be specific like Armin or Eren, it's just any one of your characters. It could even be the Titans if you so choose. You can also just go completely bonkers and play 2 of these in your back row, give all of the characters in front of her plus 1,000 on both sides, giving the character in your center slot front row plus 2,000, and you can also boost that character up by another 2,000, and it can just get ridiculous. Having 2 of these in your back row is the ideal situation. Eren Titan is the real deal. He is the guy, the main man, the big Papa E. He is hands down the most powerful character in the whole trial deck, and we are going to talk about why. First of all, you can pay 1 to have him just come down as a natural 6,000. That's obviously really bad compared to cards that come out at a natural 7,000, but if you control one character with either Mikasa or Armin in the name, then this becomes a natural 7,500 during all turns. Do you see now why that Armin card is a piece of garbage? I thought so. Let's talk more about this card. If you happen to have 2 of the support Mikasas in the back row, granted, that is 3 stock you're spending on level 1, but it's kind of worth it because this is a 7500. If you have it in the front row center slot with 2 Mikasas in the back, it goes up to a natural 9500, and you can put it up to 11,500 by resting both of your Mikasas. Obviously, this is ridiculous and probably not something that's going to happen a whole lot, but the fact that it is possible is what we are focusing on. If you have 2 Mikasas in the back row and 1 of these Titans in the front row, you are probably going to completely destroy on level 1. This is a level 1 centered deck, which is really rare for a trial deck, and it is a very good strategy. Understandably, level 2 is when we start coming off of our high a little bit. It's only got 7 cards, and honestly none of them are really that fantastic, but let's take a look at them anyway. We'll start by looking at the Aaron Titan at level 2. It's a backup 3000, pretty basic stuff, something we've seen 100 times before, but it was a really good decision by Bushiroad to put it in this deck because this is a level 1 base deck, and this gives you more of a fighting chance at level 2. Also, there's just something so awesome about that name and that face, okay? Sudden Reinforcement Aaron Titan, and he's got this really creepy grin. It's kind of like the grin we all have in our heads when we play a backup card to step over our opponent's character when they thought that they were going to reverse our character. It's just so smug and evil, man, I love it. I love it so much. Oh hey, it's Connie Springer. It's the one guy from that one part. I really liked it, and he's like, I don't remember who this guy is at all. Seriously, like when I was going through these cards and I read this guy's name, I thought he was like a back row character or something, but apparently he is like an actual character in the anime, and they said his name more than once, which I don't remember at all. But he's a level 2, 8,000, kind of bad when you play him. For the first turn he's in play, he's a 9,500, which is kind of decent, I guess, because just paying 1 stock for a 9,500 to assassinate something real quick and then letting him die off is fine. My real problem here is with level 1 decks, you don't really want to be running things that only attack for 1 soul. I mean, you don't want to be doing that anyway, but you extra don't want to be doing it here because one problem that level 1 decks really have is finishing out games. Because if you don't get enough of a lead at level 1, then your opponent can just face roll you at level 2 and continuously attack you for 2 soul, and it's just not good at all. I guess this card is really okay for a trial deck, but I definitely wouldn't keep it in a final version, personally. People are going to think I'm really boring for saying something like this, but I really do feel that cards like Jean here, just the level 2, pay 2 stock for a 9,000, swings for 2 soul, are really kind of the best things to come in trial decks. I use these in real competitive decks that win a lot. They're just very good beat sticks to have out because you get both the immense 9,000 power and also the fact that it swings for 2 soul damage so it can finish out games. It's a little sad to say, but any deck that includes these 9,000 vanillas is kind of going to overshadow a lot of other cards in that same level, unless there's something really awesome that just come out at above 9,000 and can still swing for 2 soul. Our last level 2 is going to be, of course, a Mikasa card. This card is, I don't know, it's really hard to say. It's, on its own, it's a really bad card. Let me just get that out of the way. If you have at least 2 other characters, this goes up to 8,000 and it gets Super Encore. Okay, great, that's awesome, that's cool. It only swings for 1 soul damage though, and its other effect almost makes up for it. Whenever you attack with another one of your core characters, this goes up by 1,000 power. So the highest you can get this up to is a 10,000, which is good. I'm not going to discredit that, okay? That is really good. But when your opponent attacks into this, it's going to go back down to 7,000. I'd say that the reason that this card would be considered good and something worth only putting 1 in the deck and is the fact that it has such great support. Like, if you have more of the Mikasas in the back row from level 1, then this card is actually phenomenal. It's actually a really great card to have on level 2. I mean, it only swings for 1 soul damage still, but as far as power goes, it's going to win a lot of battles. And finally, let's take a quick look at our level 3. Before we talk about the actual card, can we just talk about the wasted opportunity in the text box? I mean, come on, okay? Flavor text, I get it, okay? You want to say something kind of cool, but come on. Nobody has more guts. How awesome would it have been if the flavor text for this card was just Titans? I mean, you could yell it when you play the card, just be like, Titans! And, whatever, okay? Moving on to the actual card, I guess. If you have at least 2 other characters with core, this gets plus 1000 power. That's good enough. The character facing this gets -1 soul, which is a pretty rare thing to see in trial decks like this, so that's really cool to see. For people who don't actually understand why the -1 soul thing is good, because I don't think I've talked about it a lot, if your opponent is doing that really retarded thing where they just start playing level 0s and swinging into you for the soul damage, this negates the soul damage that the level 0s or level 1s would do, because they start out at 1 and they go down to 0, so if they don't trigger anything, then they actually attack for 0 soul damage, which is really good at level 3. Its last effect is something that kind of puts it over a lot of other level 3s that come in trial decks. Your opponent cannot play backup cards. Normally you see cards like this, but it's like backups cannot be played, which stops you from playing backups as well. But when you play something like this, it's just something that affects your opponent, okay? When your opponent attacks into you, you can use your creepy grin, rape face, Titan, all you want to give you some surprise assistance, but your opponent cannot when you're attacking into them. Sucks to be them. The last thing we'll really look at is the event card. This comes with 2 copies of an event card called the symbol on their backs. Huh, that's weird. I guess I mistyped it because it says the emblem on their backs here, and I think I put symbol. Whatever, doesn't even matter, guys. Okay, so it's a level 2 event where you play it, you don't have to pay any stock, and you give one character 8,000 power. Yes, that is not a typo. I did not say it wrong. It is 8,000 power to any one of your characters with cores. Personally, I'm really in love with this card, but a lot of people don't like it as much. The argument right now is that this card doesn't do anything to increase advantages. It doesn't give you hand advantage, it doesn't give you more stock, and it really doesn't do much to keep your field alive, except for the fact that it gives one character enough power to reverse any character it's fighting. Personally, I disagree with all that. I think this is a very amazing card, especially for a level 1 base deck, where your level 3 play is not that good. Think about this for a second. At level 3, you're normally throwing level 0s away, trying to get that last bit of soul damage to win the game. If you have a card like this, then even your level 0s can reverse level 2s and 3s and stay alive to give your opponent something else to deal with. If you have a level 1 in play, and you play this card, you step over like a level 2, and then during your opponent's turn, they frontal attack this, then they don't get the +1 for attacking an open spot. Or if they try to side attack this, they get the -1 soul because they're side attacking. It's just, I think this is an arguably good card. I definitely wouldn't run it at 4, but I think having it at least 2 is something that gives this deck a huge advantage over other trial decks. These are the climaxes. I know they look a little weird. Please just bear with me on this one. It's because my images are a little messed up. You get 4 copies of the plus 2,000 power, draw 1 card. You get 2 copies of the other 2. One of them is a +2 soul to all characters, and the other one is a plus 1,000 power +1 soul that also has door trigger. Before we get to the end here, there's a couple of promo cards I want to talk about. I didn't see them in the actual deck list, so I'm guessing there were only promotional things given out, probably an Anime Expo. This first one here is Armor Titan. It's level 0, 4,000, and its effect is when this card becomes reversed, you take 1 soul damage, pretty much. I like it. It's really good. This card definitely would have benefited a lot from being in the deck. It's not something that everybody has, so I'm not going to actually talk about it that much. I'm not going to pretend like it's a card in the deck. If you can get your hands on it, then definitely throw it in at level 0, because it's really good. But if you can't get your hands on it, don't even worry about it. The deck is still powerful. On that note, we also have the Colossal Titan. Its effect is a little bit more useless. Let's talk about it really quick. First of all, if you have at least 5 cards in your hand, this card gets plus 1,000 power. A little useless because chances are at level 3 you're going to be throwing away cards from your hand like crazy. There's no way you're lucky enough to have a full row of 3 characters in the front that are just staying alive so often that you don't have to throw any cards away. No, you're going to be playing cards constantly to try to get that last bit of soul damage to win the game. So I wouldn't count on this effect very much. Its second effect is it gets plus 5,000 power during your opponent's turn. Now let me talk about why this isn't good. Having a 15,000 power character during your opponent's turn on level 3 is worthless, because your opponent is throwing away cards from level 0 and level 1 that don't matter at all. So if your opponent plays like a level 0 and frontal attacks this, it doesn't matter if it has 15,000 power, okay? It could have 5,000 power. It's still going to be the same result. It's going to be them suiciding a character into you to kill themselves. The only time that this would ever actually be good is if your opponent for some reason had to throw like a power character into it. For example, there are a lot of green level 3s that kind of thrive on being 13, 14,000 power. If your opponent plays one of those and for some reason has to attack into this, it's great because you take away the advantage that they used to have, which was their immense power. And that's kind of cool. I mean, I guess, but it overall doesn't really give you much of an advantage because your opponent can just use that to attack a different character or attack an open space and just use a worthless character to throw into this. I mean, it is kind of arguably good that this character will stay alive for so long, because if you have a Colossal Titan out there, chances are your opponent's not going to reverse it, okay? It would take way too much time, effort, and resources to reverse this character. It's way better to just ignore it and keep throwing crap into it. So it's a character that can guaranteed attack every turn, and that's arguably good, but I just don't feel like it's a good enough card to warrant like having to go out and get copies for your deck. Okay, so final thoughts on the deck. I think the deck is probably going to be one of the top 3 decks that have come out in America. It is a really good deck, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go out there and say that it's the #1 deck, because I don't think it is, but I definitely think it's one of the more powerful decks, and it's a very easy to understand deck, which makes sense. Attack on Titan is a very huge thing. They probably released Attack on Titan to sort of broaden the demographic for Weiss Schwarz a little bit, sort of get more people into it with something that they recognize. They see Attack on Titan and they will just immediately jump on it. But I don't feel like it's something that it will completely change the meta, if that makes more sense, yeah. It's not something that will change the meta, but it's a really good thing for the game because it will get more beginners into the game with an easy to understand deck that they will win fairly consistently with. Now for the fun stuff. If you want to make this a more competitive deck, then I recommend buying 2 of them and making the following changes. At level 0, start by taking out all 4 of the level 0 Aaron. Okay, there's no reason to have that 3000 vanilla, but we are going to keep the Sasha Browse because it's Sasha Browse. I would normally keep level 0 vanillas for no reason, but I think the fact that it is Sasha Browse is enough of a reason to just keep all 4 copies in, okay? If you're going to be playing Attack on Titan deck, you might as well play the best character at 4. If you really need some sort of reason to keep Sasha Browse at 4, just say it's because the deck doesn't have enough level 0 support, or that there's not enough red to make up for the fact that you need to clock something to play some of your later red cards. Whatever you have to tell yourself, it's Sasha Browse, player at 4. Take out 1 copy of Chain of Tragedies Armin. It's normally really weird for me to say to take out 1 copy of the level 0 assist, but because the level 1 assist is so good, we're going to run that one at 4 copies and run this one at 3 copies. With some of your extra space, go ahead and put in 2 more copies of A Chain of Tragedies Mikasa. It's a really good card to open with, and you want to increase your chances of opening with it because 4,000 is very difficult to deal with at level 0. And put in 1 more Honor on the Battlefield Aaron. Honor on the Battlefield Aaron is not on its own that great of a card, but if you have 2 of them, then it can save you a little later because it does give you a really nice power boost, and that's really what we're looking for. At level 2, take out all of the 5500 vanilla. They are bad, they are terrible, don't use them. Also take out both of the Hope in the Darkness of Despair Armins because we don't need a 5,000 that can magically become a 6,000 during your turn. Ooh, so good. Now that we've taken those 6 cards out, go ahead and put in 2 more Aaron Titans. Best card in the deck. You're obviously going to run it at 4. And put in 2 more Hope in the Darkness of Despair Mikasa because that is probably going to be our main strategy, is play 2 of those in the back row, play some Aaron Titans in the front row, and then just get a huge level 1 advantage to the point where your opponent won't be able to deal with you at level 2. Go ahead and keep the activated powers Aaron for right now. They're not that great, but simply having any card with Super Encore at level 1 is considered really good, so why not run 2? At level 2, start by taking out both of the Connie Springer. Connie Springer is a decent enough card, but I feel like we can do better. Put in 2 more Jean because, you know, just having that 4 9,000 swings for 2 soul is going to save you in a lot of games. Put in the 1 more Mikasa Ackerman. I would really like to have this at 3 or 4, but, you know, we're going to run with what we can. So since you're going to get 2 of them, go ahead and run both of them. And then put in 1 more sudden reinforcement Aaron Titan, because that is going to be a very helpful thing when your opponent levels up to level 2 and you need to retaliate. Finally, at level 3, go ahead and put in a full 4 set of Eren Jaeger. We normally run all 4 copies of our level 3. This is no exception. Just do it. The event, you could argue that there are ways to put in more copies of the event, but I really feel like 2 is the right number for it. It's not something you want to be playing consistently. It's just something you want in case your opponent pulls out something you can't quite deal with. So go ahead and run 2 of them. It's a really neat card, especially at level 3 if you can happen to get one in your hand. When you get to your climaxes, go ahead and take out all 4 of One Step Forward. The activated powers Aaron effect is not worth keeping the climax combo in. Just take out all 4 copies, run 4 Day of Resolution because we like door triggers, best trigger in the game, and 4 First Battles because it gives all your characters +2 soul and really helps level 1 decks finish out games and makes up for the fact that we don't have that many 2 soul attackers. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on the deck. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me your thoughts on the deck in the comments section below. Leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Those things really do help us out. And finally, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudo news. Hopefully this is the start of something glorious, and I'll see you guys next time.